read Revelation number 3 for our don't reach back for the back handspring. And a lot of this is, well, this mainly is about the sit back is what we're going to be talking about. Because again, reaching backwards and leaning backwards, that's kind of the same idea that we want to make the back handspring go backwards. And yes, on your jump, you do want to jump backwards just like that. So let me use my French fry again. So this is what's used a lot. A lot of coaches will put their gymnasts going backwards, their face facing that way, of course, and they'll be bending their legs and having them jump, because that's the direction the jump should go this way. And so what happens, some coaches will have the kids lean back, bend their legs and jump, which is a great tool for teaching them the direction and how they got to push their body straight. But if you're doing a standing back handspring, you do not want to lean back, then bend your legs and jump, because it makes your head go right into the ground. And for some kids, when they lean back and they bend their legs and they go to reach and jump, it'll actually make their hips go forward. It'll make them undercut their back handspring by throwing their hips forward. So, and this is something definitely my coach taught, because he went to a lot of dance studios that were doing back handsprings, and as they were sitting, they were leaning forward and dropping their head down. And then as they threw their head and shoulders back, it was just totally making, they'd either be throwing their head in the ground or pushing their hips to the wall. And so he had to use an exaggeration and tell them, you need to be back here, bend your legs and jump. So this is something that sometimes you have to use in coaching, where you have to use extremes. If somebody's used to doing this, you got to show them they need to be back here and jump, okay? And I use that all the time. And one day I was sitting here doing this with my tumble classes, and I'm still thinking this is the way I want them to do the back handspring. I want them to lean back, bend their legs and jump. And then I stand there and I look over at my kids on the balance beam sitting, and they're sitting backwards, but they're keeping their shoulders over their legs. So their knees are bent like this there, and they're keeping their shoulders over their legs. So they're sitting backwards, and then they're able to reach around and jump. And at first I kind of made excuses. I said, well, they're on the balance beam and they got to do it with more control. They can't lean back. But then I started thinking, if they're leaning back, that's going to make him crash into the beam. So really what I'm looking at is one of us is right and it ain't me. Because if they're doing it wrong on the balance beam, they're going to have a bad crash and probably die. So they're probably going to have a huge crash. So when we do the sit, we got the legs here bent, we got the hips. We don't want to be sitting like this, because that, when you're going to jump, it just makes the head go right into the ground. So, and the more you sit, you want to keep your shoulders over your legs. So this would really be the arms, so the shoulders are actually here. So the more you sit back, the more you got to keep your shoulders over the legs. Now remember, I just said, don't do this. This is worse than all of it, is to have the shoulders get in front of the knees or the toes. So when you're sitting here, you should never let your shoulders go in front of your toes. That's the worst thing you can do at all. But we want to be here, and sitting back is what makes the back handspring go backwards. But the more you sit back, the more you have to get your shoulder, you have to keep your shoulders over your legs. So if I'm sitting back here, zoom like this, and I can hold on to this, maybe I can do it over here, you can see a little bit better. So as I'm sitting back from my back handspring, I want to keep those shoulders over my legs. That actually keeps my head from going into the ground. And some people will say, but you're leaning forward with your body. But actually what I'm doing is I'm keeping my shoulders right here. And I'm sitting backwards so I can get into that position to get that jump I need to do. And by keeping my head and shoulders right here, it keeps my head from going into the ground. Because I do not want my head and shoulders to move at all in a back handspring. What? So it sounds like what I'm saying is, when you do a back handspring, when you sit, this is what your head and shoulders do. Which is exactly what I'm saying. That's exactly right. So the only thing that should move in a back handspring once you sit is your arms. And you actually got to get your arms behind your head and around under your back so you can do a bridge. As soon as your shoulders move, your arms cannot get around. And my rule is, whatever you throw is what goes to the ground. So if I throw my shoulders back, my shoulders and my head go to the ground. If I throw my head back, my head and shoulders go to the ground. There's no slinkies here in my neck or in my body. So I don't have any upward movement here at all. So I don't want to throw my head and shoulders. All I can do is throw them down. So this is my head movement: forward, down, backwards, down, sideways, down, sideways. There's no slinkies here. And also with the shoulders, I can't throw and slinky my body here. I can only throw my shoulders down or sideways or this way. So this is a brand new idea that when you sit, you got to keep your shoulders over your legs. Do not lean back. Yes, I was there with some of y'all, and I would have my students lean back, and if they were going into the ground, I would say reach more or lift your chest up more. But I didn't realize that I was actually kind of creating some of that problem and then having to fix it later. So what I do now is I just don't create the problem. So I sit back. But make sure, you got to know this too. Don't let those shoulders lean forward. That's worse than everything if you're leaning forward. But this is another revelation. We can share something that's in there with the back handspring. But this is also an example of things that you can learn as you go along and make adjustments for. But really, the sit position is extremely unforgiving. It's not like I can teach it this way and then somebody else can lean forward and teach it and somebody else can lean backwards and teach it. So no, you got one position. It's the sweet spot is what I call it. And you got to know exactly where it is. And you do not want to throw the head and shoulders. And again, this is all stuff that the tumble rules take care of. Because tumble rule number 9 is don't apply any force to a movement that goes down. We do not help gravity. We want our forces that create rotation and lift our body up and move us across the floor. And throwing the head and shoulders back does none of that. But we're going to stop there with that revelation and let y'all move on. Let's keep exploring and learning new things. There's tons of stuff to learn on this, on these videos. It's stuff that I've learned over the last 49 years of teaching, and it's something that you want to take and put in your repertoire and then build beyond that. So I don't think I'm going to be able to teach for 100 years, so I'm counting on y'all to take what I have and use it and be smarter than me. That's my goal, is that you can take everything I know and then build on that and learn even some more important stuff. So let's get out there, be open mind, think about, watch what's going on. Let's take care of stuff out there and let's level these kids up to safe tumbling, good tumbling, productive tumbling, fun tumbling. All right, we'll take you on the next video.